Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, I interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business. Share them with us so we can all learn together. As always, the show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, in this social media posting, or any of those old, ineffective traditional marketing methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, I'm excited to have Abhi Prakash. He's the owner of multiple businesses from real estate, venture capital, and quite a few others. And so I'm sure we'll dive into just experiences you've had around that. So, Abhi, thanks so much for being on the show today. And I want to start by asking you a question that I always love to start with, which is this. If you were somehow able to go back to when you very first started your business, your first business, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in the first 12 months?
In the first 12 months of any business, I think is some of the most chaotic but most impactful times. I think that one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to build structure right before taking massive action. I think a lot of business experts, business pundits, there's a lot of content out there saying you got to move, you got to move, you got to move, but sometimes it does pay to slow down and to go fast.
Yeah, and I think you've raised a good point there. Difference between structure and then just getting something done. Where's the balance for you? Because obviously, you know, people can overcompensate on both sides. They too much structure and they never do anything ever, and
Yeah.
then they just move too fast, but there's no structure in place and things collapse. So where's the good balance?
Yeah, I think it depends on the point and journey you are in, right? I think in the beginning it does, like I just mentioned, like take it is beneficial to like build some structure so you kind of had some guardrails and you have like a generic direction at least of where you're moving into. And then once you've like done the work to like build some activation energy, like you can fly, like you can go as fast as you can. Just understand like there will be mistakes, things won't go the way that you had expected, but that's how you learn and that's how you grow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Throughout the different businesses that you've had, I know you own multiples and you sit on board of directors for others. One of the things that I always love to talk about are the challenges that we have in business, because oftentimes when we're in business, it can feel very isolating, and also very. We go through things and we think, "Oh, I'm just the only one that's ever gone through this." You know, no one else has ever gone through this stuff before. So I like to normalize that and talk about those challenges because it can be really encouraging because business it's not easy. You know, there's always things that we have to overcome. So, having said that, what's the number one biggest challenge you face so far in any of your businesses, and what's the lesson that you learned from that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's so many challenges and they're all different like per business, but I think it's just like generic, like at the highest level, like just people management. I think that that is so hard across different businesses because people are so important, but can also be the biggest blocker, right? Whether it be a talent problem or a sales problem or managing an account, or vice versa, right? Like maybe you have the right people, but you haven't trained them right. You haven't led them the right way. You haven't managed them properly. And that leads to chaos as well. But as you kind of grow into a leader, like those cliches that people talk about in terms of like building relationships, putting people first, the things that are posted all over the corporate offices that you kind of laugh at as you come up in the world, they matter and they're real. And like you realize like the importance of a strong HR department.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Is there one particular thing that you've learned that's helped you with the people management side of things?
Uh, there's so much that I've learned in terms of people management, but it's like you want to, like I said earlier, around like the cliches being true. I think that when you're working with people, it's important to set expectations right from the get go. Be Work hard with them, tell them you're going to work hard for them and with them, but also to orient them in a way that's beneficial to them and you and your team. I think that if you can kind of get those three boxes checked, you at least set the foundation for what can be like a strong business or personal, right, relationship. But I think that if you kind of don't set expectations, and it's overly loose, I think you see a lot of relationships uh, kind of go off the rails.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is make sure it's clear communication, clear expectations, and so that everyone's working off the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, cool. One of the other things I love to talk about are the lessons we've learned in growth. And so there's a lot of things as we grow in business, we can get trapped in growth. We can get sometimes we can get overly spammy in the way that we're communicating and trying to prospect, or we just try to move too fast. And you kind of mentioned having structures in place earlier, but what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about growing a business?
Yeah, I think again, you're gonna hate me for all these cliches, but like you gotta kind of be where your feet are. And a good example of that is my real estate firm. Right, it's small. I worked really hard as a 20 something to buy one property. Within like a year, I was ready to buy the second property, and I bought like a unit or a door, right, as they say in the real estate industry. Like that's right in the same complex. And I learned a lot about how to manage properties, how to work with tenants, how to deal with the HOA, how to deal with real estate investors, how to bring on limited partners, how to structure my LLCs, all because I had two units that were literally maybe 100 feet away from each other. And then within another year, I had a third one, right? And like I think that like a good metaphor for growth in business. Is like people try to grow in so many, like in such an aggressive way that it's sometimes not practical. So I think that no matter what your business is, to be practical about your growth, to identify what's going on around you, try to grow in where you're located and where you're based in like the most practical way. Because it was so simple, right? It's like, okay, like I bought this unit, now there's another one for sale right across the street. Like, let's go look at it. Is it affordable? Can I make work economically? Okay, yes you can. Let's lock it down. Let's now you have two, right? And then all of a sudden, like, since you're practical and you're slow and you're pragmatic, two becomes three quickly rather than two becoming one again, right? So it's like that slow steady growth, and just be having paying attention to what's going on around you, and being a good citizen and steward to like your neighborhood and your community, really can help you grow, because you don't realize like how much value you can show the people in the communities that you're already a part of.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with that, man. You mentioned you sit on a board for basketball charity, I believe you said. Um,
Yeah, it's not a charity, it's a club.
okay,
So it's like a
okay.
boys and girls, like if you've played youth sports or you played competitive youth sports. I do sit on the board of directors for a boys and girls basketball club, based in Arizona. We're actually the largest in the state of Arizona, and that whole program is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what made you get into that and what drew you to it?
Yeah, so I've been I'm a high school player and high school coach. So I did a lot of engagement and involvement in like that space. And when I was working and I was in my early 20s and living with roommates, I knew that I had need to have something, right, outside of just drinking beers with my buddies and going to work. So I just went over to the local high school and started helping out. I coached the JV team, helped with the varsity, and then before I know it, like I was coaching at a bigger high school, and then through that bigger high school, I kind of got connected to these guys who are running the club. Started helping them out, coached their sixth grade team, their seventh grade team. All of a sudden, I'm coaching on the Under Armour circuit. I'm coaching 17U. That experience kind of translated into where I am now, which was like this up last year. I was the head JV coach at probably one of the best high school programs in the state, and we actually finished with a top 10 national rank. Our varsity team did. So through that experience, I kind of grew at the club too, from a sixth grade coach all the way to a member of the board of directors.
That's amazing, man. That's really, really cool. You mentioned something about you needed to do something living with your roommates, drinking beer and all. You need to do something other than that. When it comes to business, what's your thoughts around making sure you have things outside of the business? Because I know as a business owner, it's very easy to let your life become the business because it can be all consuming. But where's that place of balance that you found yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the place of like I think everybody needs something outside of like people always like kind of beat the drum of like work and family, right? Like work, family, and like try to stay healthy. But like I think that everybody needs at least one thing outside of that that they do. I know a lot of guys golf. I know a lot of like people join book clubs or they like to run or they do something, right? And I think that's so important. I think you can easily kind of lose yourself in the business and it really affects your performance, right? If you're not engaged in a way that like is good for your soul and good for your person, in whatever method that may be. I think that you see it a lot in a lot of like business leadership books and a lot of business leadership guidance where people say like when you're especially as a business owner like you catch yourself working in the business more than you catch yourself working on the business, and I think that that's an important contention to kind of drive what I just said about like making sure you're not neglecting your person. Obviously, like don't get me wrong, like I don't expect people there are days like I'm at work or working from like 7 to like 11 p.m. and that happens and that's for sure like part of the jam, but at the same time like there's it's important to like take time to like spend time with loved ones, attend weddings, go to play golf, like get involved in your community because if you do it right it should be an energy boost, not an energy drain.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, over the next, say, 2 to 3 years, what's your goals? What would you like to achieve?
Yeah, I've kind of fell in love with the improvement game. So I just want to continue to grow my existing businesses. I want to continue to compete for degrees and accolades in the spaces that are kind of relevant to my purpose, and just continue to improve so I can serve those around me. I think that like for example basketball, right? I just we just wrapped up a really good season. I was a head JV coach. So just continue with the program. Maybe I'll be a full time varsity assistant. Maybe I'll seek head coaching opportunities elsewhere. And then beyond that, I just started working at a growth stage Series C, a aerospace firm that's seeking Series C funding. So it's like helping them do what I was there to do, and then helping my businesses just continue to maintain operational discipline and grow. I think that that's what's nice about kind of being in a little bit older, right? Is like you're not kind of soul searching all the time. You have a focus now, or at least a direction.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, for people that are looking to get in touch with you to find out maybe how you can help them or just explore more about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just linkedin.com/Abhi-Prakash1. So pretty simple. You can reach out to me on social media, Instagram. You can email me at abhiprakash20@gmail.com. That's my personal email. And I'm happy to engage.
Amazing, amazing. I'll definitely recommend everyone reaching out to Avi because you can tell he's got a wealth of experience in different industries there. So, Avi, thank you so much for being on the show today and just being, yeah, just open with your experiences and sharing that with us today. So, thank you so much for that. And as a reminder for everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way that established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects that doesn't rely on any of the old, ineffective traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.